welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video, and welcome to my 24 in 2024 book video. So just like every year, I'm sitting down to talk about the 24 books I would like to read in the year of 2024. I notoriously don't do well in these videos. I always say, yeah, I'm gonna do it. This is gonna be the year that I read all the books on my list, and then I never do. But my goal is always half. I just want to read half of these. But I did choose to do something different for this year comparatively to the previous years, and that is I'm only picking books that are romance centered. Aside from one, there's one book on this list that is a fantasy romance. That is not like, it does have a lot of romance in it, but fantasy is a very big part of it as well. But for the rest of the books are only romance, and that is just because I'm reading more romance in the last couple of years, and a lot of the times I was looking at my lists from previous years and there was a lot of fantasy that was left over that I just didn't feel like picking up. So I'm hoping by putting more romance books that I'm more drawn to, I'm going to be more excited to pick them up and hopefully cull this list down a little bit more. And then just like in previous years, I chose two categories. So one is just books that I want to read, books I'm excited about, books that are piquing my interest, ones that I just are at the top of my list and I just want to read them. And then the other is books that will continue or complete series, because the series epidemic is for real, and I cannot seem to catch up at any point in my life. Like I just am constantly like running behind, you know? So I would love to be able to move on with some series and finish some series up this year. That's one of my biggest goals for 2024 is just to finish up series. So hopefully this list will help me do that. So let's start off with books that I would like to read just to continue on with the series, either catch up or continue or finish, and then we will talk about all the books I just want to read. So there are a few books in the series category that I do not own, so I'm going to talk about those first. First and foremost, starting it off with a bang, my most anticipated release of the year, and that is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. This is a no-brainer. I'm going to read it regardless, so this was an easy one that I could put on my list, knowing that I could tick it off and feel more accomplished by the end of the year, because in what world am I not reading this day of release? None. Okay, thank you. This is the third book in the Crescent City series, a series that I absolutely love and adore, the start of my Sarah J. Maas love, and it has just spiraled from there. The first book is an urban fantasy, kind of like murder mystery, romance plot. It is very fast-paced, it's very fun, it's definitely an adult fantasy, it's 200 pages worth of world building and hardcore information dumping, and then the rest is just a blast. The second book is, it's got some mixed reviews. I personally loved it, so I'm very excited for book 3, and I'm happy that it's number 1 on my list. Up next, we have Losers Part 2. This is actually coming to me relatively soon. I did order this, I just haven't received it yet, but I do want to complete out this trilogy, I would say. The first book is a novella, and then books 1 and 2 are full-length novels. I have loved everything that I've read from this author, and I really enjoyed book 1, so I'm really excited to see where book 2 goes. It kind of left off with not really a cliffhanger, but kind of some open-ended questions, so I'm curious to see what this author is going to do with this Why Choose Romance. The first book is The Dare. It follows Jessica, and she is going to a party after high school, and she runs into a boy there that she used to bully relentlessly, and they end up in a game of dare or drink, and at the end of the game she ends up losing and has to become his slave for the night, and it is a degradation kink interesting time. It's very kink filled, it's very dark if that stuff is dark to you, so definitely check the kinks and the triggers before jumping into that one. But the next full-length novel is like the fullest kink-filled, degradation-filled, fun, sexy time. So I'm really excited to continue on with that series, and hopefully I love it. The third book on this list is Endurance by Amy Dawes. This is part of the Harris Brothers series. I read books 4 and 5 in this series in the end of 2021, and the 5th book ended up being my favorite book of the year. I didn't realize it was a series going into it when I started Surrender, but then I read Dominant and I knew I wanted to move on with the rest of the series, so I did read the first book last year, and I have not picked up books 2 and 3. So I would like to pick up book 2 and hopefully finish up that series this year, but I have to read book 2 in order to do that, so I would like to read Endurance. It is a sports romance. I don't know too much more other than that. It's soccer. It's following the brothers. They all play soccer, so I'm really curious to see what I'm going to think of book 2, and hopefully I can also read book 3, but that's not on my list. And the last book that I don't own is Tempt Our Fate by Kat Singleton, the second book in the Sutton Mountain series. The first book I really enjoyed. It was a second chance, like friends to lovers romance that I really enjoyed. It's a small town. It was very sweet and beautiful, and I cried a lot when I read it. I gave it a 4.5, and I've been really excited to move on to book 2, but I'm waiting for the audiobook to come out, and the audiobook doesn't come out until January of 2024. So once the audiobook comes out, it'll be high on my list to read, and I'm very excited for it. I think this one is like an enemies to lovers, I think maybe marriage of convenience. I don't really remember the tropes too much, but if I got that right, I'm giving myself points, because honestly, this brain remembers very little details. So if I got that right, brownie points for me. Okay, let's move on with series. I have Shut Out by Avery Keelan, the second book in the Rules of the Game series, the first one being Offside. I really enjoyed that one. I read it in June. I might have to reread Offside in order to get to this one, even though they are interconnected standalones, but that book is so big. And I read it in the month where I read the most books out of all the books I've read ever in my life. I read 52 books that month, so the details, they're murky, okay? So I would like to reread maybe Offside. If not, this is an interconnected standalone, so I can read it on its own. This is a roommate's romance. It says, one of my new roommates is tall, tattooed stranger from my one-night stand on Halloween. Okay, yep, I'm gonna love it. It's gonna be amazing. It's also hockey romance, so, you know, what else do you need? Up next, we have Highest Bidder by Sarah Kate, the 4th book in the Salacious Players Club series, or maybe the 5th book. Honestly, I don't even know. I'm really excited to get to this one. When it came out, I was so pumped for it, but I wasn't quite there in the series yet, and now I'm here and literally chomping at the bit to get to this one. I don't know the tropes of this one. I think it's age gap. I think it's, I know it's billionaire romance. I just don't really know anything more than that, but it says he's not just rich, he's filthy rich. So I don't really know anything about this. I'm guessing maybe an auction is happening. I'm excited. It happens at a sex club, and those are one of my favorite like settings to read about, so I'm really pumped for this one. And then if I can get to Madam or Madame, whatever you want to say, you know, I'm gonna be so excited. So Highest Bidder, high on my list. Up next, we have The Lost Fisherman by Joel E. Ann. This has been on my list for forever. And honestly, it's a duology, so it shouldn't take me that long to read, but I didn't love the first book. But I've heard that you have to get through the first book to really appreciate and enjoy the second book. This is like a time jump story, so the first book takes place, I think, when the main character is like 18, and just learning about life and herself, and she's a virgin with a very strict religious background, and she went into this man that, you know, really changes her outlook on life, and then it's time jump like 10 years later. So I'm really hoping that I love this one. It is rather short, so I'm excited to get to it and see what my final thoughts are on the duology, but I do need to read it, so we shall see what I think of it. Hopefully I like it more than the first book. Up next, we have Hunting Adeline. I don't know why it's taken me so long to get to the story. I have been wanting to finish up this duology for forever, but I know that people have said that this book is very dark, and not in like the, you know, dark that I particularly like. I've heard there is on page SA, and that is one of my actually my only trigger. So it's been a little tough for me to want to pick this up, but I know that when I get to the end, it's going to be worth it. I've heard nothing but good things about the continuation of this duology, and I absolutely loved Haunting Adeline, so I don't see why I wouldn't love this one. I just kind of have to trust the process and get through it, and I know that I'm going to love it, but because it's so thick and it has one of my triggers in it, I'm a little wary, but I'm going to read it. Up next, we have Always Only You by Chloe Leese, the second book in the Bergman Brothers series. I read the first book in August, I think, and I loved it. I love a good book with some really awesome representation, and every book in the series has that, so I'm very excited to get to this one. I don't know the tropes of this one. I think it's a hockey romance, but I could be wrong, and I know that there is some type of rep, but I'm excited to read it. Hopefully I can get my hands on the last book in the series via the self-published editions, because they have recently been picked up by Bloom, I think, and I love those covers as well, but I want them all to match, but I'm really excited to move on to book 2. Up next, we have The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloan, the second book in the Nashville Neighborhood series. I didn't love book 2, like, kind of at all. I wish that I had liked it a lot more than I did, but I've heard really great things about The Pool Boy. I've heard it's one of her spiciest books, and I'm excited to see what I think of this one. It is an age gap, a reverse age gap, where the female is older than the pool boy, the guy, and I've heard it's really good, really spicy. I'm gonna lower my expectations for this one, because I think that I went into the first book thinking that it was gonna have like more plot, and the plot was just lacking, and the spice was really spicy eating. And I also didn't really love the way that the trope in the first book was handled, so I'm hoping that this book does it a little bit better and that I can enjoy the rest of the series. So The Pool Boy, moving on with the series, second book, and then I can hopefully get to all of the other books because I do own them all. Second to last book in the series category, I want to read The Rebel by Sophie Lark. This is the second book in the Kingmaker series, the series that follows the children of the Brutal Birthright series. And they all go to this school called Kingmaker, where they learn to live in a world of mafia people. I didn't love book one, which is really disappointing because I have loved everything else that I have read by Sophie Lark, but I feel like the first book in that series felt a lot more YA than I would have wanted it to. Yes, it was spicy, but I just didn't connect to the characters as much as I wanted to. So I'm really hoping that this book is better. I don't know the tropes of this one. I don't really know, and I don't even really know who this follows, to be honest with you, but I am excited to get to it. I love Sophie Lark, so I'm putting my trust in her, and I'm just hoping that book 2 is a little bit better than book 1. And the last book in the series category is Radiant Sin by Katie Robert. I've had this one on my list in the last few months and have yet to get to it. This is the fourth book, maybe fifth book, I'm not even sure. The fourth book in the Dark Olympus series. This is retelling of like Olympus characters in a modern setting world, and I really enjoyed all the books in the series. I just haven't picked up book 4. I do also own book 5, so if I can get to both of those and catch up with the series, that would be great, because I think she's publishing like 2 books in the series every year. So if I can get caught up, that would be fantastic. I don't know who this is about. This is an Apollo and Cassandra retelling. I don't know anything about those 2 characters, but I'm sure Katie Robert is going to make it hot, sexy, and fun. So I'm excited for this one. All right, up next, I'm just going to talk about books that catch my eye, books I want to read. Only one of these, I think, is actually a part of a series that I have started, but I don't know why is in this category, but we're gonna go with it, and that is Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings, the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe series. I really loved book 1. It is very visceral of a reaction when it comes to this series because I loved it and hated it in equal measure, but when a book brings out that much emotions and literally makes me sob at the end, it's a book that I absolutely enjoyed. So I'm really excited to get around to Daisy Hates. I don't know, from what I heard, I don't know if this one is better or worse than the first book in the series, but I have full faith that Jessa is going to make it work. I would like to finish up the series this year if I can. The audiobooks are slowly coming out since the series has been picked up and traditionally published. Don't get me started on the covers, but I will be reading and listening to them hopefully soon. I don't really know anything about the I know I should know about this because I loved Magnolia Parks, but I don't know really about the relationship between Daisy and her love interest, so I'm curious to see what I'm going to think of it, and hopefully I love it as much as book 1. Up next, I would love to read Always Mine by Laura Pavlov, the first book in the Honey Mountain series. I have had this on my list for a long while. We were actually going to, I think, buddy read this as a group with me and my best friends, but Karina is the only one that read it, and she loved it. She blew through the entire series and loved every single one of them, so high praise from a bestie is enough reason for me to pick it up. I'm very excited for it. It is small town firefighter romance, maybe? I don't really know, but I'm excited to give it a go. It's short, hopefully it won't take me too long, and I have the audiobook, so I'm really excited for this one. Up next, if you guys saw the video where I talked about authors that I want to give a second chance to, I will leave it in the cards above, but it is definitely a book that I'm scared of, but I'm excited to read it and hopefully film an entire video of trying out authors for a second time, and that is QB Tyler. I would love to read Love Unexpected by this author. I've heard really good things about this author and the rest of her books, but the first book that I read from her just wasn't a hit for me. This one, however, is a very taboo romance, so I'm curious to see what I'm going to think of it, but I think that my issue with the last book that I read from her was more of a me thing and not an author thing, so I'm curious to see what I'm going to think moving on with more of her work, because I do own several of her books. Then I would like to read a Elsie Silver backlist, and I would like to read Off to the Races. This is the first book in her Golden Rush Ranch series. Maybe I'm a ranch girly, because I realize a lot of these are like mountain, ranch, small town. That's just my vibe now. But I'm excited to get around to this one. I loved the Chestnut Spring series this year. I read every single book in the series and gave them all 4.5 or 5 stars. So I'm very excited to read her backlist. I've heard nothing but good things about this series, and this is getting picked up by a traditional publisher, so I'm excited I was able to snag the self-published editions before they go away. So I don't know anything about this. I do know that it is in some way, the series, like this world, is some way connected to the Chestnut Spring series, because I believe the second book follows one of the Eatons. So I'm really curious to see what I'm going to think of the backlist. Is it as good as the Chestnut Spring series? I won't know until I read it, so wish me luck. I apologize for all the dog barking that you guys heard. I put them away, so hopefully we can get to this video without the dog ambiance, okay? My apologies. The next book I want to talk about is The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. I love Abby Jimenez. I have read 2 of her books so far, and I have loved them, so I would love to go back and read her backlist. This is the first book in a different series, not a new series, a different series, and I don't know what it's about. I'm gonna assume it's friends to lovers, but other than that, I don't know too much. It looks like it's gonna deal with some harder topics with somebody that is unable to have children, a wedding, dogs, I don't know. If she writes it, I'm gonna read it, so I'm excited to pick up more from her and read her backlist. All right, every year I have to read a Tate James series, and this series has finally come to a close. I'm hoping by the time I get to this book and the rest of the books in the series, the last and final audiobook will have come out, because the cliffhangers, she always does them. But I want to read Heist by Tate James, the first book in the Kaylanisimplyme Legacy series. If I said that wrong, I'm so sorry. I get it wrong every time. I can never say it. But this one is one of the first series that I've read from her that is not White Shoes, so I'm really curious to see what I'm going to think of it. It is a MF romance. I believe it has to do with like an artist and an art thief. She's the art thief, maybe he is the artist, I'm not sure, but I'm really curious. I trust Tate James basically with my life, so hopefully she doesn't do me dirty. I'm very excited for this one, so hopefully I love it as much as the rest of her works. Up next, I would love to read another Mariana Zapata, and for that I would like to read Underlock. This is a motorcycle club romance. I haven't heard too much about this one, honestly. I feel like this is one of her less talked about books, but I am very curious about it. I have loved almost every Mariana Zapata book I have read. I think my lowest rated was The Wall of Winnipeg, maybe, and I still really enjoyed that one, so I'm curious to see what I'm going to think of this one. I don't know the tropes. Strip club or tattoo shop? I don't know, but I'm totally on board because that sounds like it's going to be fun. Motorcycles, tattoos, strip clubs, I'm in. We're getting to the end, friends, I promise, but the next book is Broken Perfect Lies by Katie Wismer. This is her one and only romantic suspense so far, and I have yet to read it. That is because there's no audiobook. As you guys know, I'm an audiobook girly, and reading books physically is a tough go for me, but I'm excited to give this one a go. From what I can remember, as she explained it, it's Hannah Montana for adults. It's a bodyguard romance with some hot, sexy times. I'm really excited for it. I love this cover. I have read everything else by Katie Wismer, or at least started some of her series, so I'm really excited to read her romantic suspense. I know she's going to do it so well, and I can't wait to shout about it from the rooftops when I'm done. Another book that I put on here is a absolute have to read anyway, so another win for me, you know? I was trying to put ones on there that I knew I was going to check off, and that is Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score. This is one of the book club picks for the Swoony Readers book club. We're reading it in March, and I'm very excited for it. So this is one of those books that I know that I'm going to read and hopefully love. I have loved every other Lucy Score that I have read, and I have high hopes for this one. So hopefully it's good to me. This is a fake dating coach. Yeah, coach. She's like the PE teacher and like soccer coach, and he is the track coach. He's the bad boy turned track coach, and I'm very excited for it. I've heard really good things about the book, and I love Lucy Score. It's thick, but it's gonna be good. I can feel it. The next one is going to make one of my best friends very happy, and that is Clint, and it's Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. This is one of his favorite books of all time, and I'm really excited for it. This is a football romance. I've heard that it is one of those books that will absolutely rip your heart out and make you very sad, so, you know, bring on the tears. I'm excited for it, and hopefully I can get to it and love it. I don't know anything about it. I know it's college. I know it's football. That's it. That's all I know, and I know it's sad, so wish me luck. Hopefully I love it. Second to last, we have Writer by Sadie Rose. I picked up this author at Steamy LitCon when I went in August, and I have been determined to read the books because I bought everything from her table, and I've only read one of them so far, so I definitely would like to pick up more of her backlist. And this is a motorcycle club romance. It's very short, so I'm hoping I will love it. They don't have audiobooks, so it will be a physical read for me, but I'm excited for it. I've heard good things so far, and hopefully I love it. There is 3 books in the series, so I'm crossing my fingers that I can read it and then move on with the rest of the series over the rest of the year. And the last and final book today is Behind the Mask by Nicole Banks, yes. This is a serial killer romance, but both of the characters are serial killers. Yes, it's giving Butcher and Blackbird, but I'm assuming it's not going to be like as humorous as that, maybe a little bit more dark, although that book is unhinged and dark in its own way. So I'm curious to see what I'm going to think of it. I don't know anything about it. The back is very vague. It says, "To those entering their villain era, I hope you tear down those structures that they have tried to cage you in." Yes. Yeah, I'm very excited for this. I don't know if there's an audiobook. It might be a physical read for me, but I did pick this one up at Steamy LitCon. It's from a, like a dark romance subscription box. It's called Dark Remedies, and I'm excited to get to it. And if I love it, then I might look into this book box more, because I know that they also sell individual books on their website, so I'm curious. Alright guys, that is everything. That is all 24 books that I would like to read in 2024. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Also, let me know if any of these are on your list for next year. I would love to chat with you guys down in the comments below. If you made it to the end and you don't know what else to comment, leave a sparkle emoji. That's what I'm feeling today, so if you don't have anything else to comment, a sparkle emoji is the one. I really hope you enjoyed this video though. If you did, please make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and of course leave any comments, questions, and suggestions in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Next, baby, turn it down like a sweet and ready. Boys, keep it nice and steady. Know that you